Hello and welcome to Friday's Granada Reports.
Hello there, we're live with the latest across the northwest. On the programme this evening...
He shot dead a 9-year-old girl. Tonight, the new legal battle over how long the killer of Olivia Pratt-Corbell should serve behind bars.
The young people worrying about keeping a roof over their heads because of the cost of living.
How the King and the Queen Consort are getting involved in Liverpool's Eurovision.
The gamers facing abuse online just because of their gender. A special report.
A guard of honour for Ernest. 105 today. A full report on a special celebration.
And in the weather, the weekend's here and someone looks very chuffed about it. However, looks like we're turning the calendar back. Otherwise, all the details coming up.
First tonight, the man who shot dead Olivia Pratt-Corbell at her home in Liverpool is bidding to reduce his minimum 42-year sentence.
Drug dealer Thomas Cashman, who's 34, was jailed for the schoolgirl's murder, as well as wounding her mum and trying to kill his intended target.
Well, our correspondent Anna Youssef has been following developments. What can you tell us, Anna?
Well, as you said, Cashman will currently be 76 before he's even considered for release for the murder of Olivia Pratt-Corbell. The 9-year-old was shot dead at her home in Liverpool last August. You might remember Cashman refused to even appear in the dock during his sentencing. The Court of Appeal has now confirmed it's received an application for Cashman's jail term to be reduced. His lawyers are going to argue that the sentence was just too harsh. This is what Mrs Justice Yip had to say during sentencing.
Had he paused to think for one moment, it would have been obvious that this was a family home and that others, perhaps including children, were at risk. But the defendant was focused only on the murder of Joseph Nee, and no one else mattered to him.
Now, she decided a whole life tariff wasn't merited because the planning and premeditation of his attack wasn't directed at Olivia.
So what did we find out today?
Well, a single appeal court judge will now decide if Cashman should be given the opportunity to appeal. If he is, the case will be heard by 3 judges at the Court of Appeal Criminal Division.
But Anna, also news today of an attempt to challenge the sentence for not being long enough.
Yes, Anne. In a further twist, today we found out an appeal's been lodged to extend Cashman's sentence under the unduly lenient scheme. The Attorney General's office told us several members of the public had made the appeal, and law officers have 28 days from sentencing to consider the case and make a decision.
So where does all of this leave Olivia's family?
Well, throughout all this process, Andy, they've said all they wanted was to see justice served. This is Olivia's mother speaking outside court after the sentencing.
We welcome the sentence given, but what I can say is that my family and I have already started our life sentence, having to spend the rest of our lives without Olivia. Now, everything we do and everywhere we go is a constant reminder that she is not there with us. All that promise for their future so cruelly taken away.
While they're continuing to serve their life sentence, a life without Olivia, they're now facing the prospect of having to go back to court to make sure her killer serves his full sentence.
Yeah, and we'll keep everyone up to date on the developments on that story. Anna Youssef, thank you.
Well, next tonight, to growing levels of anxiety about homelessness because of the cost of living crisis. Tonight, we focus on the impact on young people.
As more than half of people surveyed living across the northwest are worried about eviction.
That is according to the homeless charity DePaul UK. They are now launching a crisis appeal to help act as a safety net for those who are struggling. Tim Scott reports.
Jason, not his real name, is 20 years old and lives in Manchester. After being homeless in his teens, he now has his own flat. But he's been unable to pay for heating this week and regularly goes without food, as the cost of living crisis means he has less money to survive on. We met him at a relative's house where he told us about his predicament.
I ain't got gas, I ain't got heating, I ain't got I only got electricity, but then again, I go to sleep, I'm cold when I'm sleeping. You know what I mean? I wake up without a shower, I gotta go travel down here when I don't even like to get out of my house without taking a shower because I don't feel fresh.
How does that constant struggle to get by affect your mental health?
It was literally like I was in bed 24/7. I didn't eat. I only smoked, never slept. Like there was all those things that I was doing that were bringing my mental health down to bring myself down. But in reality, I just didn't have nothing to do, nothing to eat, nothing to, like there wasn't nothing.
We are living in times where people are just struggling to sort of stay on top.
She will, sit in the dark due to no electricity. She will not be able to shower.
They're struggling. This video from the young person's charity DePaul UK shows their workers describing what their clients are going through. They've now launched an appeal to help the youngsters through the cost of living crisis. The charity's own study found that more than half of people surveyed in the Northwest are worried about eviction due to the increased cost of living. Almost 3/4 said they're struggling to afford basics like food, heating and travel. 1 in 3 have already experienced increased conflict in the home because of financial worries. And a similar number revealed that they've not attended vital appointments regarding jobs, housing or benefits because they've been unable to afford travel costs, lacked a phone charger or lacked phone credit.
We feel that the cost of living crisis disproportionately affects these young people that we work with. And what we're trying to do is support them to stay where they are. They've made such massive strides to move away from homelessness. And so what we're trying to do is support them to bridge that gap then into employment so they don't feel like they have to choose between eating and heating their homes.
As for Jason, his story has a kind of happy ending. He's just started a full-time job and is hoping it's the beginning of a new chapter in his life.
No, I do feel like these struggles are going to be away within 3 weeks from now. Yeah, I mean, like, I'll be able to top up my gases for sure. I'll be able to get my fridge filled up. I'll be able to go places. I'll be able to look after myself. I'll be able to roam freely than what I'm doing right now.
It seems Jason is one of the lucky ones. Charities like DePaul have never been busier, with more young people than ever seeking their help. And with no sign of the cost of living coming down anytime soon, they look set to stay busy for some time to come. Tim Scott, ITV News.
Yeah, good luck to Jason. The government's said it's working to drive down inflation to ease pressure on families, and it will continue supporting people with cost of living support worth an average of £3,500 per household over this year and last. Buckingham Palace has revealed King Charles is to visit Liverpool next week as part of the build-up to the Eurovision Song Contest.
His Majesty will be accompanied by Camilla, the Queen Consort. Our correspondent Rob Smith is in Liverpool for us this evening. Hi Rob, what more can you tell us?
Well, the glitzy staging on which all those acts from across Europe and Australia will do their Eurovision thing will be officially unveiled by the highest members of the royal family next week, next Wednesday. In fact, the King and the Queen Consort, seen here on a previous visit to the Northwest back in January, they will get a taste of what it will look like on the night itself. They'll get a backstage tour and they'll get to meet the celebs who are hosting the show, those people who are in charge of corralling all those countries at the end of the night when they call in from their capital cities, trying to speed them along into revealing just who has got the 12 points, those all-important 12 points, and who has not. But it won't just be a visit about showbiz. It'll be about cultural connections to Ukraine and just why the UK is doing this on the country's behalf. The royal couple will twin Liverpool's central library with the very first public library in Ukraine. That's in the city of Odessa, and the ceremony here for that will involve school pupils from Liverpool, a live link-up with Ukraine, and an opera performance. Not necessarily the first music you might think of when you think of Eurovision.
Yeah, Rob, Eurovision is coming to Liverpool because of the war in Ukraine, and there's been a reminder of that there today.
Indeed, a garden on the edge of the city centre planted up with greenery that is native to Ukraine, planted up by Ukrainian refugees and kids from a nearby nursery. It also includes great big boards of translated Ukrainian poetry that speaks about the history of the country, speaks about the war that is raging there, and what the organisers, the volunteers, hope is that will provide a space for some contemplation just a stone's throw from the hubbub at the arena that is hosting the thing.
It's great to make it a part of the Eurovision experience, and to also pay attention to nature, because I think so much of Ukrainian literature and poetry are about the Ukrainian nature, and landscape and so on. And so it's like a very nice link, a very beautiful connection in a way.
Allows people that time over Eurovision as well to take some quiet time out from the party. It's going to be busy, it's going to be fun, but actually let's remember who we're doing this for and who it is on behalf of. So taking some time to step back, read some of those very poignant words and reflect on what this is all about.
And speaking to those refugees there today, you realise just why that reflection, that quiet moment is so important, because while thousands of people will be partying all along the waterfront here next month in many a corner of Ukraine, it will be anything but a party.
Yeah, it'll be a tribute, a fitting tribute. Rob Smith in Liverpool, thanks ever so much.
Well, more news now, and police say they are extremely worried about a father and his 3-year-old daughter who have been reported missing from Blackpool. Ahmed Karwan Abdullah and his daughter Dunya Abdullah were last seen on April the 10th near the prom in Blackpool. Detectives say the disappearance is out of character for Ahmed. Anyone who sees them should contact Lancashire Police.
Video has emerged of a bull which had escaped from a farm in Cheshire. The animal was shot dead by police after it ran at people on Wednesday morning. It happened near a school in Haslingden. Cheshire Police said it was a danger to the public.
Muslims across the northwest are coming together to celebrate Eid, the festival which marks the end of Ramadan. This was the scene at Tranmere Rovers, where Prenton Park became one of the first football stadiums to host Eid prayers. During the holy month of Ramadan, Muslims typically fast and refrain from eating and drinking during daylight hours.
The Liverpool actress Claire Sweeney is to join Coronation Street. The former Brookside star, who is from Walton, is best known for playing Lindsay Corkill in the Merseyside soap, but will now be trading the close for the Cobbles. She'll play Tyrone's mum and appear in the show from the end of June.
And rickshaws have been introduced at a retirement village in Chorley as a way to help fight social isolation. The pedal-propelled passenger carts will be used to chauffeur residents to local parks and nearby shops. It's hoped they'll improve mental, emotional and social stimulation.
We'd love our residents to enjoy the feeling of actually riding a bike, so they can feel the sun and the wind in the hair and their rosy cheeks, and just come back with lots of experiences.
And in the weather, some beautiful shots from around the region this morning, but the clouds soon rolled in. What about the weekend though? Well, the full forecast is coming up.
Thanks, Emma. And here's Charlene now with details of what's coming up on the ITV News in just over a quarter of an hour's time.
Coming up, Rob resigns, but makes it very clear he doesn't think he should have to. In an extraordinary resignation statement, the now former Deputy Prime Minister calls the inquiry into his behaviour dangerous and flawed. A 4-day climate protest in the capital has kicked off. It's dubbed the big one, and we'll have the latest on the weekend's planned action. Plus, Wrexham prepares for the biggest match in its history. Will they make it back into the Football League after 15 years of hurt? You'll join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Well, next tonight, if you ask a video gamer why they spend hours on their computer or console, they will probably tell you one of the reasons is to enjoy it as an escape from everyday life. But research shows it is not always a safe space for everyone, especially women.
Many say they face abuse when they're playing games just because of their gender. And the abuse can be so serious it can cross over into real life. Lucille Brobby has been investigating.
You concentrate on getting the coins and not falling off.
Online gaming is supposed to be fun, but for some it can have a darker side.
Okay, I've died.
Chatting is an important part of multiplayer games, but increasingly that chat is turning offensive, especially towards women. Something Jessie from Manchester knows all too well.
Struggling to find something to actually insult me by, so then they'll go into my parents and they'll be like, oh, you're a girl, you know, go back to the kitchen,
They'll talk about your face. You do your best to ignore it, but it can get to you. You know, not every day you're feeling strong and you don't have a good mindset. You know, if you're feeling a bit sad one day and someone says something, it can affect you. So it's just learning, obviously, how do you deal with that personally.
Experiences like this are becoming more common according to researchers. 71% of women say they've experienced discrimination and abuse, with 36% saying it happens regularly. And nearly a third of women have been sexually harassed online.
Verbal abuse is the most common, and again that comes in such an array of forms, sometimes including threats of rape as well. Typical kind of comments around, I'm going to find out where you live, break in and either violently attack or sexually attack you or other family members. So it can be very dark.
Okay, we've got the...
And with more popularity can come even more hate. Sunpai is a gaming YouTuber with over 100,000 subscribers. She says she's been stalked and sexually harassed while gaming.
I feel like there's not a day that goes by that there's not someone saying something horrible to me, whether that's a sexually abusive comment or a threatening comment. I had a follower that actually came to where I live, which is quite a small town, and was annoyed at me for not going to meet them that day where they got there, which makes you paranoid and anxious.
So what is the answer? One organisation promoting diversity and inclusion in gaming is British Esports, the UK's national body for competitive gaming.
Many women are told to just mute their mic in a game, and that's not always the answer. That shouldn't be the answer. And then, of course, you've always got the just tick the report button, but again, that's an area that needs to be improved on. Game publishers need to be held a bit more accountable for what toxicity is being punished, what that punishment is, and that's all kind of work that we're looking at Women in Esports.
Sunpai hopes there'll come a time when picking up a game controller doesn't lead to harassment or hate.
It would just be, again, it's really cheesy, but a peaceful gaming space with no toxicity. I feel like we're quite far from that, but with more people spreading awareness like this, we can definitely get there.
It's a hope that many female gamers will share. Lucille Brobby, ITV News.
Now, to a very special birthday for one of our oldest veterans.
Yeah, Ernest Horsfall is turning 105, but because he has no surviving relatives, the British Legion has stepped in to arrange hundreds of birthday cards from fellow veterans.
He was presented with them at Blackpool Airport today, where he was greeted by a guard of honour.
And our correspondent Mel Barham was there too.
On a guard, shun!
They wanted this to be a birthday to remember, but when you've had so many, you have to pull out the stops. Today, Ernest Horsfall is 105, but with no surviving family to help him celebrate, the Royal British Legion started an appeal to collect birthday cards for him, and they were inundated.
Ernest, as he says himself, doesn't have many friends because of his age. He said, quite matter-of-factly, they're all dead. And I hoped we would get 105 cards, and we had 500 in the first 2 days. And then it was 2,000, and then 3,000, and now it's over 4,000. And they're coming from all over the world.
Amongst the thousands he's received, one from the Prime Minister and the King. But he's not sure what all the fuss is about.
I'm surprised that anyone's taking any notice, to tell you the truth. Why?
Born in 1918, Ernest has lived through 27 prime ministers and 5 monarchs. Married for 57 years with a son, he was a World War II veteran and served with the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. But it was planes that were his big love, hence why today they brought him back to Blackpool Airport. He was 43 when he took his first flying lesson. He was still flying at 93 and continued to work as an aircraft inspector until the age of 101.
He used to inspect my own aeroplane, and he phoned me one day to tell me he couldn't do it anymore, he was giving up. And when I asked why, he said, well, I can get down to look at it, I can't get back up again.
So does he feel 105?
It has no impression on me whatsoever. I just can't walk anymore. I'm fit enough in myself.
He's a fairly typical Yorkshireman. He doesn't easily show his emotions, but I've seen just a twinkling or two today. I thought one stage today we were going to have a tear, and I've only seen that once before in him.
Are we going out live now?
No, we're not going out live.
We're going out dead, okay.
And still making jokes at 105. Mel Barham, ITV News, Blackpool.
What a modest man. Happy birthday, Ernest.
Yes, happy birthday.
Weather now, here's Emma.
Have you burnt tea again?
I'm scraping the cooled oil into the bin, not the sink.
Can we eat outside? It's nice.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello there. Hope you've had a superb Friday. Somebody's ready for the weekend, and it looks like it's Toby having a ball there on Fleetwood Beach this morning. Some really lovely photos from around the region in spite of some of the cloud and unsettled weather. Weekend is here. Saturday's the better day. Not to say it's going to be totally dry, of course, but it's very wet on Sunday. However, light winds throughout the weekend. That's a little bit of a change from what we were saying yesterday, but that's the way the forecast is looking at the moment and the way it has changed. If you're heading out of the region and down to London to enjoy the London Marathon, well, it's looking mostly cloudy, temperatures around average for the time of year, only light winds there as well. There is a risk of a shower on Sunday itself. However, the details on Sunday are a little bit sketchy at the moment, so we'll have to keep you posted on that one, but that's the way it's looking right now. So rewinding to the detail for our part of the world, any clearer spells are really most likely this evening, and then we have the first band of rain which is clearing away, and this is the second band of rain which moves through in the early hours of the morning, being particularly heavy across the Isle of Man and also through parts of Cumbria. 1 or 2 showers down, trailing down towards Cheshire, and even here where it looks like it's drier in the middle there, the darker green colours, that's still going to be quite cloudy and drizzly and misty, but the winds lightening off overnight, and sun's up tomorrow at 5 to 5 in the morning, sets at 8:24. So first thing, it could be quite a damp start, especially across the Isle of Man, and the further north you are, that pulls away. Some bright spells pop up later in the afternoon, and that fires off 1 or 2 showers later in the day. Quite slow moving because of those light winds, and then after that on Sunday, showers or longer spells of rain, feeling noticeably colder though on Monday. Bye-bye.
It's a little bit burnt.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Emma. Our late bulletin is here after news at 10, and you can keep up to date at itv.com/Granada.
Now, next week, we meet the teenager asked by one of the big supermarkets to help design clothing for disabled children.
Looks fabulous. For now, though, thanks for watching and good night.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.